Nope. Yep, that's a clicker. That's a clicker, and I'm not a fan of that. So let's talk about the top 5 guns from Last of Us, and hopefully they're effective at killing those weird little things. Welcome back, everybody. Clint today with Classic Firearms, here to take a look at the top 5 guns used in The Last of Us. This so far has been a very successful TV series based off of the video game The Last of Us. And of course, you don't always see that as a great success, TV adaptations of video games and whatnot. But in this case, seems to be doing pretty well. Before we start rolling into my top 5 from the video series, however, I do want to let you guys know that some of the trademarks and content used in today's filming is not all ours. We're not associated with Sony Pictures or HBO in any way, or any other production company for that matter. All we want to do is take a deep dive into the firearms they used in the filming of The Last of Us. So let's go ahead and roll into my number 5. Just a heads up, spoiler alert. There's going to be a lot in this video, as you can imagine. So if you haven't seen the series just yet, you might want to put this on pause, go watch it, and then come back. Or if you don't care, continue to watch. So with that being said, my number 5 pick, the M4A1. Obviously, it's used quite a bit, but you definitely see it used in a scene where a bloater gets Lieutenant Perry. It kind of shows just how anemic the 5.56 cartridge is against some of these monsters that you see in the TV series and the video game. And, well, let's just say at one point, reason why it's number 5 is because this dude is just laying into it, right? Bop, 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 all sorts of full auto fire into this bloater. And the bullets are he's just absorbing them. They're deflecting. It doesn't end well for him because as soon as he goes dry, he just, let's just say, head goes bye-bye. Anyway, so go check that scene out if you want to see it. But the M4A1, obviously it's an iconic firearm. It's one that's been used in the United States military for decades, and it's used all throughout the world still. It's not going to be going anywhere anytime soon. Also, of course, SIG coming out with their NGSW and all that. If you don't know what I'm talking about, obviously you haven't been watching our videos, so you need to go see what that is. But the 5.56 cartridge, it's very popular, lots of it, but is it going to be replaced by something a little bit bigger with a little bit more power? I bet Lieutenant Perry was really wishing he had the SIG Spear chambered in 6.8 instead of 5.56 in that exact moment, but oh well, sucks to be him. Anyway, let's talk about our number 4. My number 4 pick is Ellie's little gun, the Beretta Model 70. Now, in the show, I can't tell. Maybe I missed it at some point. Maybe you guys can let me in on what you might know. I can't tell if it's the model chambered in 32 ACP or 380. Or I guess technically 22, but it's going to be 32 or 380. In this case, I'm just going to say 380 because a little bit that it is shot, at least maybe they have some of that laying around, and 380 is a little bit easier to find than 32. Anyway, we see it used a couple of scenes by Ellie. First, when we see it used after she picks it up after finding it at some point, she uses it to save Joel. Good job. And Joel is, I guess, I wouldn't say rightfully, but a little upset that she hid this gun from him. So later in that same episode, though, we do at least see him show her how to hold the gun and appropriately use it, things like that. So that's good, and let her keep it. That's good. Teach your kids how to use guns, right? That's a good thing to go about it. And we see Ellie use the Beretta Model 70 quite frequently to kind of fend off, people attacking and stuff like that. But there's not a lot of hits there. But anyway, it is what it is. So maybe, Joel teach her a little bit more accuracy. But maybe that's coming. Anyway, the Beretta Model 70, again, a little compact guy, multiple chamberings. Of course, here at Classic, we've carried all sorts of compact Berettas as well, chambered in 32 ACP also, 380 as well, which are, again, just a lot of fun to shoot. And as we recently discovered on the channel not too long ago, 380 is a pretty good round for going through like 2x4s and whatnot that I didn't think it would. So anyway, my number 4 pick, again, Ellie's little compact Beretta Model 70. Let me know what you think so far. Do you agree with, my 5th pick being the M4A1, my number 4 being the Beretta? Maybe number 3 is going to be something a little bit more punchier. For my number 3 pick, I couldn't help but to go with the Winchester Model 70. I know, it's ironic that our number 4 and our number 3 is the Model 70. But 2 different manufacturers, obviously, and yes, this one definitely packs a little bit more punch than 380, 32 combined. We're talking 30-06 awesomeness now with this bolt rifle that was made famous during the Vietnam War as a sniper rifle during that time. Of course, we all should know Carlos Whitefeather Hathcock, who just made that rifle legendary, right? But anyway, we see this gun utilized quite a bit through the show in actually different configurations. We see it with the black synthetic stock, we see it with the wood stock, and we also see it in more of a camouflage pattern. But we also see how effective it is. We do see Joel in that same scene where Lieutenant Perry, loses his head with his very anemic M4. We also see in that same scene Joel going absolutely, let's just say, super Carlos Hathcock sniper mode with this thing, and what seems to be in like an unlimited ammo perk. But we do see him over here running the bolt gun very effectively to save Ellie multiple times, engaging quite a few of these infected sick type, right? And one thing I can say too, we have two other weapons that are utilized within this scene that we can probably throw out as an honorable mention. The next one we could talk about is the knife that Ellie uses, and also a car that takes out like 3 in 1 hit, so that makes sense. Anyway, the Winchester Model 70, fantastic rifle, beautiful rifle, and the walnut one that we see Joel pick up throughout the series and use to save Ellie a couple of times, highly effective. By the way, the little girl crawling through the car, creepy as hell. That's weird. Anyway, number 2. For my next pick, the Ruger Mini 14. This was a hard one because it did compete with the number 1 quite a bit, but we got to think influence here. But the scene here with the Ruger Mini 14 is pretty awesome. Whenever Joel's going through the hospital to save Ellie, because some misconceptions and misunderstandings of what was going to take place when Ellie got to the hospital. But let's just go ahead and say that she was saved thanks to Joel and his trusty Mini 14 that he picked up off of one of the guys escorting him to the hospital. He utilizes this firearm very strategically. He's not mag dumping and all that type of stuff. He's making sure his shot placement is right where it needs to be to eliminate the multiple threats that are in this hospital. And we see him eventually actually drop the Mini 14 when he runs completely out of ammo, picks up an M4, runs out of ammo pretty quick with that, and then a couple of pistols, and he makes short work of people that are literally standing in his way. And the Mini 14 is one that has been around for decades. A very reliable rifle. Actually, the first rifle I ever bought was a Mini 14, and I loved it. It was a great rifle, chambered in 5.56, and you can't go wrong with these guns. They just work. They're classic, they're iconic. Ruger's good at making guns like that. And it's one that if you haven't shot, you definitely should. Of course, the scene that we see him run to the hospital doing absolute work in is utilizing the folding stock. So a lot of you might be looking at that like, oh, that's a weird looking one. It's not the full, wood stock that you typically see on these guns. Nope, this one is the folding stock. So pretty cool scene to see him go through, get a pretty violent, because you don't see him, getting all that violent, I guess you could say, through the series. And then all of a sudden you see that and it's like, okay, yep, this guy's got some skills. So pretty interesting stuff that you see there. And with that, let's go ahead and roll into our number 1 pick. For the number 1 pick, the Remington 700 BDL, the Better Deluxe version of the Remington 700 that we see utilized quite a bit throughout the show. First of all, it's a gorgeous rifle. I'm assuming this one's chambered in .308, which means that would give it about a mag capacity of 4, an internal capacity. If it was any of the larger rounds or the like the 300 Win Mag or anything like that, you'd lose a round. So with how often we see it kind of shot without having to have like a whole lot of reloads, 4 rounds seems fair enough. Anyway, we see this gun utilized quite a bit ever since episode 1, when Joel's brother actually saves him with it from the soldier that was going to carry out like heinous crime pretty much, and does actually, because we see, and this is actually, if you watched or you played the original Last of Us video game, you'll actually see Joel's daughter in the game. Let's just say she plays that role very well in real life. And Sarah, his daughter, who the actor is there, again, she just nailed the scene, did an excellent job, made it very realistic, and actually made it kind of hard to watch. Children, am I right? So anyway, if you don't know what I'm talking about, I'm trying to be as spoiler-free as possible, then go watch the show, play the video game, and you'll see really quick what I'm talking about. But of course, in this scene in which I'm referring to, Joel's brother comes in, saves the day with the Remington 700. Now in the video game, he's utilizing a revolver, so a little bit of a difference there, but we do see that scene take place with the bolt gun. And then of course, a little bit later, we do see Joel absolutely annihilate Ellie when it comes to showing the accuracy of the Remington 700, because she's over there, can't hit anything, and he's like, the gun's just fine. He's sweet talking and all that stuff. You're gonna shoot that thing, you're gonna impregnate it. Kind of a funny little, I guess you'd say, choice of words from Ellie, but he does show that the gun works just fine. Perfect shot on the target that they had. So the Remington 700 BDL, my #1 pick for the series, or at least this season. Of course, another season is coming soon, so that might be something that, well, we might do a part 2 to this, depending on what type of firearms they use in season 2. Are you guys excited for it? Let us know down in the comment section below. And do you think this list is right for season 1? Do you think there's some other guns that should have been depicted? Maybe change the hierarchy of where they're at? I don't know. Let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below.